question, Sons of Chaos.
Hi, sir. I have a little question for you. In most of the cases, they started the games with advantage. What do you consider was the biggest obstacle in carrying the advantage over to later stages?
Did you say most of the games they started with advantage?
No, you started
We
with.
did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Sorry, I misheard you. No, it's okay. I think a lot of our mid games we got quite ahead in early game. I think in majority of the games, and our mid games were quite poor. We overgrouped a lot of the time. We went for really random plays. We got caught randomly, and it led to us just slowly losing gold all over the map. And I think that's I mean, a lot of team fights I think were misplayed, especially in game 1 and 2. So it just led to us losing those games. I think game 3, there was that one team fight at Dragon where they heralded mid and got it really far ahead on Gwen, and Jinx was outranging our entire comp. So, I mean, there's a whole lot of problems in all 3 games, but I think that our early games were decent.
Thank you.
Next question from MGG. Hello, Fudge. How do you feel after this 3-0 loss? You know, yesterday Niski was criticized for smiling after his 3-0. As a player, do you understand his reaction? Do you think it's better to stay positive even after a loss?
I don't think I think there's no real way or no real right or wrong answer. I think some players cope by just being depressed and they pour that negative emotion into trying harder to try to improve, and some players react positively or like try to get over it quickly by saying it's okay, and they always have next time, and just laughing about it, coping that way. And I think just different players cope differently. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I think what Niski did was completely fine, and it was obviously overblown. What was even Blabber, I think, was laughing, and there's some memes about it on Twitter.
Next question from Bruno Rodriguez. Much has been said about the gap between West and the East. But even with the 3-0, you guys had more disputed matches against BLG. Do you think the difference is actually that big?
I do think the difference is that big. I think that T1 and JDG are definitely better than BLG and Genji in terms of like the gap. If like we're first seed NA, right? If we play against first seed Korea or China, I think the games will be even harder to win. And even though we got so far ahead in early games, which you could be arguing like is some coin flip plays or maybe them making mistakes, they still played a lot cleaner than us, even when we were ahead, right? So if you can't even win games when you're ahead, it's pretty clear that they're a lot better than you. So I would definitely say that the gap is quite big still.
有中文媒体想要提问吗？也可以把问题打到公屏或者用举手按钮。
Next question from Sons of Chaos. Chinese teams are known a lot for their constant team fighting style. What was your strategy for managing that chaotic style?
I mean, we prefer playing against teams that team fight a lot and go for like random like skirmishes, just because we are also someone like that. We're also a team that just goes for a lot of random skirmishes, goes for a lot of team fights. We're generally the best team fighter in NA. And that's how we won a lot of our games in North America. So playing against LPL, we found was actually going to be like more of our style, rather than LCK is sometimes more lanes oriented and they play a lot slower. They play a lot, they don't really give you a lot of like fights. They sort of just try to bleed you out. So we were kind of like confident because we also scrimmed against BLG quite a bit before we found out we were playing against them. Like we scrimmed probably the most out of any other team at MSI, and they were good. They were definitely beating us in scrims, but they weren't like insane, and they still made a lot of mistakes. So we had some confidence that if we played the right drafts and we had good early games, that we could win. And I think our mid games just sort of fell apart a lot of the games.
或者选手你好，这里是玩家电竞，想问一下，对接下来在败者组的比赛有多大的信心呢？你怎么看待今天的这场比赛失利呢？队伍接下来会做出怎样的改变 ？So how much confidence do you have for the next game, and also what went wrong for today's match? Maybe for the whole team, are there any specific parts that the team can still make some improvements on?
How do I feel about the upcoming match? I think that any of the Western teams that we play against are going to be infinitely easier to beat. But a lot of our mistakes that we were making, which were a lot of mid-game mistakes, and I think overgrouping, trying to, getting caught on sidelines. Like I got caught quite a bit of times. Going for plays when they have Herald, for example. There was a couple times where we went for a play on the other side of the map. They had Herald, and then they could just use it. And we got really far behind in gold because of that. Stuff like that. I think we're going to have to review all of these games after we get back. And I think if we fix those issues and we get better at them, that we can definitely beat the other Western teams.
那首先，如果在接下来的一个比赛当中，如果让我说对接下来比赛的一个期待的话，其实如果我们接下来会面对更多欧美赛区的队伍的话，我觉得可能会比今天是要更加容易来赢下比赛的。但是毫无疑问，从今天的比赛内容看出，我们也是犯了非常多的失误，特别是我们的中期也存在着不少的问题。比如说，我们会可能过于的集中，然后过于的抱团了。很多时候，我们可能在某一侧来进行一些举动，但其实在另一侧也会有一些指挥。比如说，当我们在地图另一侧的时候，可能对手会利用先锋啊之类的，然后来逐渐的推塔来滚起雪球，所以就导致我们在整体的经济上就会有比较多的落后。所以说，可能在这些方面，我们对于所有的游戏还要重新的来进行复盘。如果我们能够很好的去改进这些问题，把这些问题给改正的话，我觉得我们会还是有信心来赢下接下来的比赛的。
Next question from Presna Esports. How did you see your personal evolution in today's game? You started with champions with more damage, like Kennen, and then you ended up using frontline, like Sion.
Well, in scrims, we've been practicing more frontline champions, I would say, than Kennen. But Kennen is a very highly contested pick throughout MSI. Usually it's the best blind pick you can really pick in general for top lane. So we wanted to blind pick top lane on 2-3. We thought Kennen was a really strong champion that's highly prioritized. And maybe it wasn't. I actually think that Kennen probably wasn't the best pick when they showed Vi and Nami, because it's very likely they're going to go Lucian Nami. And Vi is generally pretty good against Kennen. Lucian Nami is good against non-tank champions in general that don't outrange him, which is Kennen. So I think Kennen pick was maybe not the best in game one. I also got outplayed in laning phase. He went up like 10 CS, even though likely I should go up about 5 to 10 CS myself, because he's probably a lot better at the matchup, I would say. But it wasn't really like a conscious decision to like play tanks, because the first game I played a carry matchup and I played poorly. I think it was more so just I thought that the tanks were better in the drafts, and I still think they are better, but we just got outplayed.
你好，这里是大电竞，想问一下 Fudge 选手，今天和冰选手交手感觉如何？你觉得他是一位怎样的选手？ So how do you feel about today's game, especially playing against Bin? And also, what's your thoughts towards Bin?
Playing against Bin is obviously I was a little bit nervous, because I think he's probably, could argue, the best top lane in the world. So I was a little bit nervous going into today, but I don't think that I played terribly. I think I definitely got outperformed, but I think that there were some good parts to the games. I don't think that they were complete stomps, so I'm happy that we at least did something in early game, but obviously the negative of how we played mid game a lot of the games still heavily outweighs it. And Bin as a top laner, I think that he's very aggressive. He punishes you on every mistake. He sometimes makes like, random errors where he gets caught by like a jungler or a mid laner, but in general, he's going to win 1v1 a lot of the matchups. He plays all the matchups a lot better than every other top laner I've played against. So he's definitely a top laner that, I mean, most top laners would probably want to be like.
那首先，我觉得今天和斌其实在上路进行一个对线，我是有一点点小小的紧张的，因为我其实觉得斌是世界上可能最好的上单其中的一个，所以说可能今天要面对他，我还是有一点点小小的紧张。但我觉得可能今天我和他的一个对线，我自己的表现也不是那么的糟糕。我觉得在有一些部分我们也是有做得好的地方的，所以说我也非常的开心。可能在今天这个 系列赛当中，我们是有确实的在比赛当中做到一些东西的。特别可能在前期我们也有一些不错的处理，但毫无疑问，我们可能在中期的游戏当中也是有很多可能做的不足的地方。那我觉得宾选手的话，整体来讲，他是一个打法风格非常凶悍的队伍。如果你要犯了失误，他就一定会抓住你的失误，然后来狠狠的教育对手。当然呢，可能他有的时候偶尔会有一些，就是可能在一些比较随意的地方犯到一些小小的失误，但是毫无疑问，整体来讲，他比如说他的1v1也是非常非常好的，他整体对于游戏也是有非常非常强的掌控力。我觉得像宾这样的选手，应该是很多的上单都想成为的那样的选手。
And final question from esports.net. Would you prefer to see Golden Guardians lose tomorrow to give yourselves an easier matchup, or are you rooting for the fellow LCS team to beat JDG?
I definitely want Golden Guardians to lose tomorrow. Don't think I want to play against JDG.
All right.
Being honest.
That's all the time we have. Thank you.
Thank you very much.